You're listening to another episode of Mr. Riley's Neighborhood. This is the place we're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
Well, we're going to get more than one opinion today. We have our friend Gabrina Daniels from the Chamber of Commerce on. She's always here at the beginning of the month to tell us what's going on in the city and all the plans of the Chamber. She comes in prepared with this big old list. Wow. How you doing, Gabrina?
I'm good. How are you?
And she brought a friend with her. You want to introduce your friend?
I did. Well, this is Tammy King. She is the director of the Children's Advocacy Center, and we love Tammy, and we are really starting to get them more involved in Burleson, and everything that they do is just amazing. So I wanted to bring Tammy on today so she could tell us a little bit about what it is that the Children's Advocacy Center does.
And I've heard a lot of good things. I told some people the last couple of weeks that she was coming and whatnot, and some people know your group, and they're just like, they do such great work. Mm-hmm. But how would you describe your work, Ms. King?
I think the easiest way to describe it is we use what's called a multidisciplinary team approach to working felony-level child abuse cases. So we have a fabulous team that's made up of all of the law enforcement agencies, the district attorney's office, county attorney's office, juvenile services, child protective investigations, and also Cook Children's Medical Center. So collectively, all of those agencies have people assigned to our cases, and then we have 18 of our own staff that work together. And that team approach is really what helps us to meet the call of our mission, which is to provide every child who suffered abuse with justice, hope, and healing.
That sounds to me a very emotional packed job. And I'm sure that I hope I don't ask questions that are inappropriate. You let me know. But it's really, really tough to do that emotionally, I'm sure, for any service.
Yeah. I think that for our staff, we've really learned with our kids, it's really about the victory at the end of it and the celebrations we get to have as they move through the different services. So I think it's easy to kind of fall into that thought of, oh my gosh, there's probably someone's always crying or upset. Mm-hmm. And yes, we definitely have those cases where the kids arrive for the first time. They don't know what to expect. They're scared. They've been through very traumatic experiences. But the staff, the team, our board, our community volunteers do such a fabulous job that a lot of times by the end of that first visit, the kids really don't want to leave.
Right.
And there's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of love in that building. So it's very common to walk out in the lobby and see someone reading a book or playing a game with a child or out in the backyard throwing a ball with one of our therapy dogs. And so while, yes, we're dealing with the hard subject matter and hard situations, there's a lot of joy that's also in the building.
I know when I took a tour, when y'all were at your other building, I haven't been able to come to the new one yet, but y'all had this, like this picture or a big board that everybody put their handprint on. And it was just, when I took that tour, my heart just melted. And then I saw the bright colors with those handprints that represented, I guess overcoming their obstacles, maybe.
Really, the handprints are that celebration I was talking about. So when children come in, the first visit is initially what's called a forensic interview, where that entire team is working together to really focus on what happened to the child and how to make sure they're safe and to move forward with the actual investigation pieces. And really for the staff, we're focused on the child. We're helping that child as they journey through the criminal justice process. And we're really kind of wrapping around them, helping them to begin that journey of healing. The graduation ceremony is when kids have completed all of their counseling services at the center. And once they've met those milestones and the therapists feel like they're ready to graduate from services, then that's what we have, is we have a celebration in the lobby, and the therapist will speak about the child, the milestones that they've met and the goals that they've accomplished, and they present them a certificate, and then they paint their hand, and the last thing that happens is the kids leave their handprints on us before they leave and graduate from services at the center. So that's what the handprints are. It's really a signature from the kids that symbolizes that it's a process, but they're working to overcome what's happened to them.
Well, I'm going to do the sponsors at the end of the show because I don't want to interrupt what's going on here because y'all really seem to, obviously know each other. And I want to hear about what you're doing, and the sponsors won't mind waiting. But there are a couple of city events I'd like to promote coming up, and then we'll go back to our conversation. Let's go to the RISE Mental Health Seminar. It's this Saturday. It's from 9 to 3 at Pathway Church. I've had Sarah Nicole Tynan, say it right, Tynan on twice now that I know of. So she's been working on this very, very hard. There's no cost, but there is a sign up, so they want to know the numbers. And there's a lot of people going to be there to talk about various aspects of mental health and some of the services provided. I'm sure the chamber's involved in somehow in this, or at least in a not in a direct way, but I'm sure the city's going to be helping out. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But anyway, it's an important thing. Because I've talked with Sarah a couple of times, and it's something I think people my age really need to access as much as the people y'all are talking about. Because people my age, I'm well older than both of y'all. It's not something my generation likes to talk about. So I'm encouraging people that may be reluctant to check this out in a very friendly environment. Also, we have the Harvest Moon Festival. Tiffany Griffin's helped putting this on. Harvest Moon Lantern Festival over at the Standard. Is the city involved in this in any way, or just a sideline kind of thing?
Not that I know of. I know the chamber's not.
Well,
And it's Tiffany Nico.
Well, yes, I know Tiffany Nico or Tiffany Griffin. It's like I have to remind myself. I do this with the students too, young ladies that I had in class, and they're married and mothers and whatever. And I can only think of them by their maiden names. And Megan is here from Next Step Women's Center. I keep calling her Hollowell, even though she's been married several years now. It's just anyway. Back to Harvest Moon. Harvest Moon is going to be on in the evening time from 4 to 9 over at the Standard at Chizen Hall, and they have various events going on. So check it out. Check out our Facebook page if you want more information about tickets and signups and whatever else. I'll be promoting this tomorrow and Thursday. So thank you, Tiffany, for what you do for the community. Anyway, y'all were talking, and I just didn't want to jump in because I was fascinated to hear what you do and the kind of person that it takes to do this kind of work. I mean, when people say they want to volunteer and help, what do y'all look for?
We have a multitude of areas for volunteers, really, inside the center, outside the center, special events. So we have multiple group therapy sessions that take place throughout the week, and sometimes those run past normal operating hours. So it's nice if we have volunteers at the front desk that can engage with the families as they're waiting, getting ready to go into the group sessions. We also sometimes need help answering phones or preparing information for events. We're getting ready for our big Fostering in Faith initiative across Johnson County to try to recruit foster parents, and that will be on October 15th at Open Doors Church.
So tell us a little bit about that program.
Fostering in Faith was really a call to action for churches, foster care placing agencies to really step up to the plate and help provide respite events for foster parents. When we speak to foster parents and we ask what's causing this really high attrition rate where you lose over 65% after the first year, it typically is because of a sense of isolation. So if you and your husband were foster parents and you really needed a night out together just as a couple to get refreshed, and you just say you wanted to call me and Adam to babysit. Well, Adam and I can't babysit those foster children unless we have gone through training. So you have to have someone to do that. So churches can host events where they can actually keep kids, and foster parents will have a couple of hours to go grocery shopping and go to dinner together. Or, we really want to encourage people that maybe they're not called to be full-time foster parents, but they have family members that foster and they want to help. So we want them to go through the respite provider training so that they can keep the kids when they go on vacation or for a weekend or even just a night out.
Right.
So this is really an effort to have churches support current foster parents in their congregations, to also set up respite events for any foster parents in the area, And then most of all, to recruit new foster families that can provide a loving home for these kids that are, many of them, waiting to be adopted.
And so what so let's say we want to become a foster parent, foster parents. Is that something that we would do through you, or who would we? How does that work? I mean, I'm trying to get foster parents. If anybody out there is interested in becoming a foster parent, I mean, kids have my heart. I mean, I love them. I have a soft place in my heart for kids, and so I would love to be a foster. I always told my husband, if we ever win the lottery, we're going to foster kids, and we're going to have a bunch of them, that and horses.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, October 15th from 9 to 12, we will have agencies there that are going to present on what does it take to become a foster parent. It'll be an informational meeting. But really beyond that, all of those agencies will be set up and be prepared to answer questions and visit with anybody in a very casual, relaxed way. And then we have a panel that will be made up of youth that have aged out of foster care, some that have been adopted out of foster care. We'll have foster adoptive parents on that panel that can answer the real life questions. Gotcha. I think the young man that we have on there, we may have two, but one of them I know was in 24 different foster homes.
Oh, wow.
So just to kind of hear what that feels like to be on that side. And I know the opportunities that we've had to visit with some of the young men from Milestone Ranch, which is a fabulous place where young men that have aged out of foster care can get a lot of really life application skills, trained through the ranch work and having to get a job. And Steve and Jamie Stone had that up and really work with them. But we had the opportunity to have them come speak to our staff. And they said, really, whether you have 1 hour with these kids coming into the center or you have days with them, the most important ingredient really is love. If you just show them love for 1 hour, it may be more than they've gotten their entire life. And so that's really powerful to hear from those that have kind of walked that walk.
Right. Where is Milestone Ranch at?
Milestone Ranch is out towards Rio Vista.
Okay.
It's actually on the other side of Rio Vista. So it's a newer operation, and we just have the privilege to have their daughter on staff at the Advocacy Center.
That's amazing.
Are you familiar with Re-Inspire?
Yes.
Okay.
She's actually on the Fostering and Faith Committee with us.
That's why I figured. Sharice has been on the show about 3 times, and one of my sponsors, Shandy Stogsdill, is on their board. I think she's this year's president on it. And so I know that's something that's very close to Shandy's heart. And so it's amazing. I had a show where I had several of these nonprofits at one time, and they all know each other. And then, of course, you and Jennifer Woods over at Harvest House, y'all were just conversing a few minutes ago. Like, y'all all pull together in the same team, it sounds like.
Yes. It's important to work together.
Now, you said you have a new facility. Now, last time y'all were on the show, Kevin Sellers was in your position, right?
No, he was our development director.
Oh, development director. Okay, now he's retired and living the dream, I guess, in Colorado. And we were over at the hub when we did this. But now you have a new location. Where is that at?
It's at 1304 Country Club in Cleburne. It's on a beautiful 10.5 acres. So we have a really nice outdoor therapeutic trail that's being developed. The trail itself is laid, but we still have some benches and some landscaping to go in for the kids. But the entire building was designed to be therapeutic for our kids. So there's 6 courtyards within it. Every therapy office, every family room opens into a courtyard. So it's a glass wall that just slides open.
I know, it's very nice.
A huge outdoor pavilion so we can cook out. We did summer safety camp for the kids this summer. And we were able to bring in a lot of special programming that really in the old facility, we just didn't have the room to do as much as we did this year at camp. One of the days was teaching the kids life skills in the kitchen. So the kids actually got to do cupcake wars and personal pizzas. And,
how fun.
And we have 3 different ovens, 2 in the big prep kitchen and 1 in the staff bake room. So we rotated them through. But I've never seen kids have so much fun because they got to, for the first time in their life, use a little handheld mixer. And they got to make something and follow it through all the way to the end. And then they got to take it home and share it with their family. So they were really proud. And it was just great fun to watch them kind of come alive doing that.
Right. And just not have a care in the world, that their care is, I want to make sure that my cupcake looks great. And instead of everything else that's that's have them where they are.
Yeah.
It's great.
They're great kids.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm sorry,
keep
kids
going.
just
I'm
want to
fine.
be kids.
Yeah.
And so, they're laughing and being silly and just like all kids. That's what they want. And that's what we're striving to give back to them.
These children, they live at the center?
No. The kids come in for, usually the first time is for what's called a forensic interview. So all of our cases are referred to us by either law enforcement or child protective investigations. And so once a child makes it to our doors, it means that their case has kind of met our criteria, which is sexual abuse, severe physical abuse, child witnesses to homicides or violent crimes, which would include child sex trafficking and child pornography. So it's kind of the worst of the worst in regard to the types of cases we see. But they come in, and typically there is a protective caregiver that can bring them in. Maybe it's the other caregiver that's the perpetrator, or it's a different family member, or it's someone known to the family. Less than 2% of the time is it ever a stranger. So most of the time, someone can transport. Occasionally, we might have to have law enforcement or child protective investigations transport a child. We had that situation last week. But they come in initially, that first visit's going to be 2 to 3 hours. The team will do what's called a pre-staffing. When they arrive at the center, they go into our area called the bullpen. They go into a monitoring room, and they'll discuss the allegations of the case, how the report came in, is there past criminal history, is there past child abuse history. And it's just kind of getting the team on the same page. And we can also look up in our system if a child has come into this center or any other Texas center previously. And same thing with the perpetrator. Has an alleged perpetrator in this case been listed as an alleged perpetrator in any other case in a Texas CAC? So we're connected through a program called Collaborate.
So this is not a standalone outfit. You have outfits all over the state, collectively work together.
Yes.
Is this publicly or privately financed?
It is through grants and private donations and fundraising events that we raise all of our funds.
But it's a faith-based operation. Yeah. Well, people of faith work it. Okay, that's what I really meant to say. It's not connected with a church or with a specific religious organization, but people of faith do work this. Do y'all ever have any? I wouldn't say conflict with the state, I guess the best way to put it, or the state pretty much appreciates what you do, I hope.
No, we have funding that is both through state and national. So we ourselves are not a faith-based agency.
No, but people of faith have to work there.
But you're exactly right, and that's where I was heading with that. I think that's what gives you hope, to kind of get to the other side. But so really when we're working with a family, it's more tell me about your support system, and we try to find out what their needs are, how to help. And we just really come at it from a situation of compassion and love, but also really to give them a toolbox that helps them implement change. Because if we can't change the environment that these kids are going back into, they're just going to end up right back at the center. And so we really try to work with the entire family. And so our partnering agencies are going to be working the investigation. The staff do not work the investigation. We are a tool that can be used by them because we have the professionals that know how to talk to children that have been through traumatic situations. We have very caring therapists that can really provide it's TFCBT, it's trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, but all of our services are trauma-informed. So everything we do is really trying to address the trauma that these kids have been through and really help them to understand that, abuse does not have to define them. It's really a part of the journey, and they can use that in a positive way. Even though it's been a really negative situation, they can really use that to begin helping other kids to eventually become advocates themselves. And we have a lot of amazing kids. We have one young lady right now that's studying to be a social worker. So I know her decisions on what to do in life were very much sculpted by what she overcame as a teen.
How many children do y'all help routinely?
Let's see. Our busiest month this year was February. We had 82 new cases in February. And then, of course, we have our kids that come in every week for their therapy sessions. So oh my goodness, in a month, I would say you're going to have a couple of hundred coming through in a month.
Good heavens.
I think one thing that really stuck out with me when I talked to, I think it was Caitlin, she was telling me that, when the kids come in, that you guys have, I guess, that group that sits in the bullpen, and you have one social worker that sits with the child, and then she's got an earpiece in her ear. And that way the child doesn't have to tell that story over and over and over and over and over.
Yes,
And
the forensic interview process we were
Yes.
talking about, when the team does the pre-staffing, that is right before the forensic interview takes place. So who she's talking about was the forensic interviewer.
Okay.
The forensic interviewer will go introduce himself to the child and any family that might be there with them.
Well, maybe you can answer this more fully, because one of my favorite listeners, Sherry Scott, has asked you, what type of volunteer opportunities do you have? And you mentioned a couple earlier, but you probably have a whole long, wide need for a lot of people. What basically do y'all need the most of for volunteers?
I think it's a variety. Again, it's indoor, outdoor. So we have these large grounds. So we need a lot of people that have some expertise in lawn care and vegetation. And inside the building, we need help answering phones. We need help just manning the lobby, sometimes engaging with kids. Sometimes if it gets crazy in the lobby, staff from other places in the building have to come out into the lobby to help kind of provide one-on-one. Most of the time our kids do great, but sometimes you get kids, you may have two little boys that are younger and they're ADHD and they have energy and they really need to be engaged one-on-one. So we have those situations. We have the groups, and we have a lot of meetings for our team when they're doing case staffing. So we have sometimes some meal prep people to help us do that. We have a campaign we're working on right now that we call our cookie campaign, that we just want to go thank people that have done something special for our kids within the month. And so we'll bake cookies and we'll help just deliver a thank you. And sometimes we'll send our dogs out on the cookie campaign to do thank yous. So the dogs are definitely the rock stars at the CAC. The kids love the fact that there's someone to throw a tennis ball with or just sit in their lap and let them pet them when they're stressed. And it just makes things feel a little more comfortable. But it's everything. And then our special events, just helping us with everything from serving food to registration and check-in, and there's a multitude. So
and you guys just did the dinner, Cowboys for Kids.
Yes.
I know it's changed since I used to go to it. It was, in fact, in one of your little pamphlets, I think my son was maybe 1.5 or 2, and he's pictured on the little barrel, and that's when y'all did your little rodeo for the kids in the morning, and then, and so tell us a little bit about what events do you do to fundraise for, for the Advocacy Center?
So obviously Cowboys for Kids is still our largest event. So it's a big gala with a silent auction, live auction. Meat Meisters does a fabulous job cooking.
Absolutely. I bought a ham from them, and we get on that thing for 4 or 5 days. It was great.
Yeah.
They've been on the show before, and I'll bet they'll be on again. They do a wonderful job.
Yeah, and then there's a big show at that event as well. So that really helps us to raise quite a bit of money. And then we do 2 badges, bags, and bingo, which is a designer handbag bingo. So we have one coming up November 17th. And it's really fun because it's our team that works these cases, as well as other first responders that work with us on our child fatality review team, or Baby Moses, a multitude of other projects that we do. And they get to take to the stage and model these purses. And sometimes they're kind of holding it like it's a snake that might bite them. But sometimes you see handcuffs start swinging and you're like, where is this going? But it's a really fun time, and you really laugh until your sides hurt. So
if people want to come to the November 17th event, where do they get information? How do they come? How do they participate?
they can get on our website and pull down forms and paperwork, or they can call us or shoot us an email. But we'll make sure they have the paperwork if they want to. But it is on our website.
Okay.
Well, one of the Jessicas as I call them, the Gabrina and the Jessicas. It's like, some cartoon band from the 70s. But anyway, I believe this was Jessica Pound, says that y'all are collecting snack-size chips throughout this month?
Yes, yes, we are. In fact, my mom sent me some Venmo money the other day because she wants to donate to. We're doing it for several different nonprofits, and she lives in Ruidoso, New Mexico, and so she's sending that down so that I can go buy the chips and everything that's needed and distribute to these nonprofits. But yes, we're doing chips for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't recall a child that's walked through the front doors of the center that didn't want a snack.
Yeah.
So that's something we just try to do again too.
Y'all provide meals?
We will provide meals for children if they come and it falls over a lunchtime or an evening time. Then we keep stuff in our back storeroom, but we will also, if it means run to McDonald's or Chicken Express or Chick-fil-A, somewhere to get a meal for children that haven't got to eat that day, then we're absolutely going to make sure they're fed.
Now, you'll work with the county, I'm sure, law enforcement, whatever, and they direct some of these kids to y'all, right?
Yes.
And on the more severe cases, do you have a shelter for them?
If it ends in a situation where the child has to be removed, the first thing that Child Protective Investigations is going to do is they're going to try to find a safe family placement. Whether it's a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, they will always exhaust every means to try to keep a child with a family member. And if they can't, that's where they're going to be turning to those foster homes and those agencies we talked about earlier, and that's why they're so important. When they can't, then those kids will need placement.
Now, I'm just thinking also the types of kids you get. You do see progress with them, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so that's why I know it's sometimes slow, sometimes it's in baby steps, but you do see progress. What is the end goal for y'all? I mean, what would you consider to be a successful case?
I think when you can see a child begin to overcome anxieties that they may have started to develop, when our family advocates meet with the caregiver for the first time, they're doing an assessment, kind of what's going on. Have you seen changes in your child? If so, what have you seen? And then every child will have what's called a trauma assessment done on them on their first visit to the center. And if our kids score in the area of suicidality on that trauma assessment, then they move into doing what's called a Columbia suicidal scoring on that child, or the CSSR. And that immediately qualifies that child to have the clinical director assign a therapist to do a crisis intervention with that child. And so they will meet with them. And if that child does have a plan to harm themselves or to take their life, then we will be referring them to a hospital. So about a third of our kids are experiencing some type of suicidality. In the height of COVID, I guess our highest was like 47.8% of our kids were suicidal. So it's very serious because of the nature of the cases, and that's why it's really important you do have the right people assembled to work with these kids and that you understand really kind of what's at stake. And you can't take shortcuts. It's really about giving them 110% when they walk in the door, because we don't want them to go out that front door without making sure that we know that they are okay before we send them home.
Is there an age group? I mean, what is too young, what is too old for y'all?
Well, our team will actually staff from newborn. A lot of our shaken baby or child fatalities are going to be our youngest children. As far as children that we can provide a forensic interview, really about age 3. And at the age of 3, it's a 50-50 shot whether that child's really going to be able to articulate what has happened.
I was thinking that's awfully young
Yes.
to be able to describe what's happening to them.
Yes.
And then, but they age out at a certain point.
We'll do all the way up to the age of 18.
Right.
And now we will have what we call courtesy. Sometimes we'll have disabled adults that maybe emotionally they're functioning at a younger age and will be contacted by law enforcement sometimes to assist. And we will always assist with those cases as well.
For these people that age out of your system, what's the next step for them in many cases?
That age out of
You're out of your program.
Oh, well, now once a child has come into services at the center, it doesn't matter. We were talking about a young lady earlier that
Right.
you know.
Right.
And so a lot of times our kids will leave and if they go off to college and maybe that brings up some new anxieties or new dating situations, things that may cause some anxiety for them, then they can always call and we can set them back up with us or we can refer them to another center. So it's not a one and done for our kids. We will always be there for them.
So even adults come back either to visit or to actually use your services. It's interesting.
Absolutely.
So it's a lifelong commitment you're making with these children.
I guess it's a bond, a relationship that you build, and they see you as they trust you. You know, trust is it's a word that once you have it, you have it.
Yeah.
You know, and these people that you help from whatever age, forever. I mean, they know that you're their safe place. No matter what they're going through out in the real world, you're their safe place, and they can always come back because the door is always open with
And
you guys.
that's exactly what I was going to say. It's really that it is a safe place for them to come, and it's a safe place for them to be vulnerable when they need.
Now, being in Cleveland, of course, you have a fairly central location, but you ever thought about opening up other locations here in Johnson County?
We are in Cleburne because we have to be in close proximity to the courthouse.
Sure.
I will say our state association had talked to us one point in time as cases are growing. There are centers that have satellite offices. I hope that we don't grow to that
Right.
point where we need it. But
Yes, that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you get a lot of cases from Burleson.
we do.
And I just wondered if a satellite office would be of some use. You know,
I think that down the road, that's probably something that we will have to be looking at as the county continues to grow.
oh, it's growing like a weed. We talk about this, with Gabrina, she knows better than I how fast it's growing. But sometimes growth brings other issues.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the reasons that I asked Tammy and Children's Advocacy Center to come on today is because a lot of people in Burleson don't know what Children's Advocacy Center does, and they don't know about the services that they provide. And with the amount of children here in this area that are being abused in one way or another, I want people around this area in Burleson to know, hey, we always have Children's Advocacy Center. There is a safe place for these kids to go to. It may be in Cleburne right now, but it's there. And Cleburne it's 20 minutes up the road. It's not that far.
It's not very far
It's
at
not
all.
very far at all. And so I just want to make sure that people in Burleson know about Children's Advocacy Center and exactly what it is they do and how they help our children.
Do you work with the school districts in this county?
We do. We actually have a program called Before You Click, which is our online safety and prevention program that we developed, and it provides curriculum and videos and games that teachers can we can actually create a user ID for them so they can access all of it, live stream it to their classrooms. But especially for the younger kids, they can access the site at home, and there are games that we've built into the site so they can play them, and they're safe, and mom and dad don't have to worry about what they're seeing. But when they accomplish one level, they have to answer a safety question before they can promote to the next level. So we've just tried to incorporate some things in there to teach them about being safe online. And then every page of that site has a report abuse icon that the kids can click on, and it's a very child-friendly way for kids to ask for help if they need it.
Now, we've been focusing on sexual abuse, but it also just physical abuse is also something y'all deal with as well.
Yes.
Because as a teacher, I didn't have many students confess that they're being sexually abused, but I had several over the years that finally would admit that, somebody in their life is beating on them. Sometimes it was an uncle, a dad, a boyfriend, a mom, and I remember, and teachers had very specific ways of handling it. We'd have to report it. I mean, we didn't have any options, which I'm fine with, but we had to report it. And, most of my experience was with physical abuse. Somebody comes in and they got a black eye, and I didn't buy the story that they, tripped over the threshold or something. And I'd be obligated to report it, even if I weren't told.
Right.
And it's, and they act like they're mad at me, but I think part of them was relieved. Mm-hmm. And
Absolutely.
I could think of 2 or 3 cases right now off the top of my head, but y'all deal with that as well.
We do.
Right,
And
right.
I want to just kind of build on what you said about what you had to do as a teacher, over 50% of our reports come from educators. So it would be impossible to help the children that really need help without our teachers. And in the world of COVID, when those kids were at home, it was awful. We saw our child sex trafficking cases skyrocket. We saw the severity of our cases skyrocket. But the kids that needed help, a lot of them, we couldn't access them because nobody was accessing them. They weren't at school talking to the teacher that they felt closest to. And so teachers play an invaluable role in helping us keep kids safe.
We also have to, in my experience, you have to remember that abuse doesn't have to be from a family member. There were 2 or 3 times I had to deal with a situation where a boyfriend was doing this, was beating on his girlfriend or aggressive sexually with her and things like that. And, and of course, they would be very upset if I intervened or whatever else. But there were 2 or 3 times I accessed services for a young lady who was getting beaten up by a boyfriend. And so we don't think about that as much, date violence.
Right.
Or we always accustomed to thinking about a parent or an uncle or family friend, but no, it happens between people the same age. You get a lot of that?
Yes, we do. Quite a bit.
Yeah, well, that's more of my experience, and I remember one case many, many years ago, back in the 90s, some girl comes in and she's obviously been beaten. And I first went to the parent, thinking that was the case. I said, no, it's this guy, and he was in my 3rd period class. And so I talked to the appropriate staff members, and they yanked him out of my class, and I didn't see him again. I think they arrested him, in fact. But it was just, it really brought it home to me, just what these young people have to live through. Yeah.
It's pretty stressful these days. We try to talk a lot to parents when we can about just now with social media and technology, kids don't really get a break, and perpetrators can access them 24/7. So if we're not implementing ways to help our kids manage those things and manage the stress that comes with it, I think that's really, why we're seeing the astronomical suicide rates just with kids in general right now.
Now, as far as other types of children you deal with, they don't necessarily have to be being physically or sexually abused. They could just be having very serious emotional problems. Or is that something somebody else maybe specializes in?
That will really probably be somebody else. Now, we may have a child that comes in and there's a concern that they're being sexually abused or that they've suffered severe physical abuse. And in the course of the forensic interview process, they may tell us something different. But if a child's really struggling and they've come through, been referred that way, and they need services, then certainly we're going to provide services for that child.
Do these people you're doing the forensic interviews, are they honest with you? I mean, that's a very traumatic thing to be talking about for them and hard to admit. I mean, like I mentioned in my case, I'm sure in my 28 years of public school and probably 3 years of private school teaching, I had this going on with some of my students, but they would either were afraid to talk about it, afraid of repercussions, afraid of, getting somebody in trouble or getting somebody arrested. On these interviews, do they unload all this, or you still have to kind of pull it out of them?
I'd say the majority of the time they're relieved to finally be talking about it, but we definitely do have those situations where they're trying to protect the person that harmed them, or they feel like if they tell, their family's going to get ripped apart. And we cannot make promises to these kids that all the things they're afraid of won't happen, because it might happen. The person that hurt them, if it's their dad, someone they love, it's hard to tell because they are carrying the responsibility of I could send them to jail. And that's, the perpetrators are counting on that with the kids too, kind of emotionally exploiting them. So it's very hard for them to be truthful. Or sometimes these kids that feel less than, or they have low self-esteem, and someone's telling them they love them, and we hear the situation, and it's, a 30-year-old and a 13-year-old, and we're like, that's wrong on all levels.
Yeah.
We're thinking that's wrong. But for that 13-year-old, if somebody's not telling her that she's loved, she's beautiful, she's special, trust me, somebody else is going to, and it's probably not going to be with the right motivation.
Right.
So that's the other thing we try to tell parents is you really have to invest in your kids, and they need to hear that they're loved and cared about, because if you're not telling them, then they're waiting for somebody else.
Somebody else will, yeah.
My wife used to tell me that when I was raising my daughter, said, you need to tell her every day that you love her. because somebody else will.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, I think it worked, but it's still, it just, I'm just thinking at the end of the day, some days you're just exhausted emotionally and spiritually. I mean, it must be tough some days. You just want to, hear these stories, and do you ever get the feeling, I want to, I just want to take a break from all of this. How do you handle it yourself personally?
I think one of the things we really stress with our staff is you have to have a very healthy life outside the center. You have to have boundaries. Adam and I, because of him being in law enforcement and me doing what I do, it's kind of the hard and fast rule. It's like you need to leave it. If we got to take 5 minutes to just kind of visit about something, or that we're having a hard time with, them, we'll do that. But then it's like, okay, you done? Yes. Are you done? Yes, I'm done.
Well, but the listeners may not know, but your husband's the sheriff of this county. How long has he been sheriff?
He's in his second term now.
Right. Yeah. Well, and from all accounts, I hear great things, no issues, no problems, but it must be tough for both of y'all in the kind of jobs. Do they ever cross over?
Yes, he has, staff members assigned to work our cases, and just when we knew he was going to run, he put his chief deputy on the slot for board. Just, he didn't have to, but we just felt like that was the best thing to probably do in that situation. But yes, I mean, we have cases that overlap all the time. He just has so many that he doesn't, if they're having to deal with the homicide versus, then child abuse, and so he has his chief deputies that are kind of working directly with us, and his crimes against children detectives that are in and out the doors of the center all the time.
I couldn't do that job. I honestly couldn't. If I had a gun and I'm a law enforcement officer and I see something like this happen, I don't know if I could be trusted, frankly. I mean, it must be tough. And that's when people think about volunteering, I think they want to, but it takes the right kind of person to do that and the right kind of motivation.
I think understanding too at the volunteers, a lot of times the kids, you may occasionally have that kid that like they just emotionally vomit over whoever's there in the lobby. But for the most part, they're kids that just, maybe it's a 3-year-old and they just want someone to sit down and read a storybook to them, or someone to color with them, or, where's the dog at? Can we go outside and play with the dog? And so it's
positive
not,
attention.
Yes, but, and it's fun and it's lighthearted. That's what they're looking for, because a lot of times maybe they're not getting that one-on-one attention. And so when they have one-on-one attention from an adult that seems really invested, that really cares, that wants to listen, or is willing to do that, they're just kind of soaking it all up. So, we caution our volunteers, don't get into their story.
Right.
I mean, if they're having a hard time and they just start telling it, don't be harsh and shut it down.
Right.
But you might want to get a staff member that can come sit and assist with that.
So I know you were talking a little earlier about the redoing their room. Tell us a little bit about that. And then, and when you do that, are you looking for donations? Are you looking for, monetary donations? Are you looking for items? I mean, so tell us a little bit about, I guess that would be a program or what you do there.
That is the My Safe Space project. And in that project, our therapists will, at least once a year, they'll identify a child or children in a family that have endured pretty horrific abuse in their own home, their own bedroom, and it's to the point that they're having a hard time going back in that room. And there may be a reason the family doesn't want to be relocated, and they want to stay in the home. Maybe they've got a lot of money tied up in it and they don't want to leave, or sentimental reasons, but the kids are having a hard time. When that situation happens, the therapist will really be working hard with the parents to learn a lot of information about the child, where they go to school, their favorite hobbies, the people they love most, and things that are most important to them. What are their dreams, their hopes? And we take all of that and we will raise money. So right now, just for me personally, for my birthday, I did a Facebook fundraiser that's posted right now, and we've raised about $1,600 for this next project that we're getting ready to do. But we will go in and we'll gut those rooms, and it'll be remade based on everything the child has shared with us. So if that's new paint, new furniture, new bedspreads, and wall art and framed pictures of the people they love, we'll do that. And one of the things that we've added over the years that is personally really special for my family is we set the table. We try to do it before Thanksgiving, so that will be coming up in November. And we will set the table with new dishes and holiday centerpiece. But we want to encourage them to sit down as a family and have that time together. And I think the very first My Safe Space we did, my daughter and I worked in the kitchen, and we had the table set. And when the mother and daughter got home, the mother immediately burst into tears. And when she looked at what we had done, because we did things kind of all through the house, and she said, "We've never had glasses." And they had never got to, we sent them out for the weekend. And so they went to a play. We had meals taken care of, a hotel, a trip up to Dallas Arboretum, and just everything was paid for the whole entire week. And other kids, we had one family where it was 8 kids, and we sent them to a lake house for a weekend, and they got to go by limo and just, again, experience things they've never experienced. And the kids, for the most part, they don't know we're doing it.
Right.
They just know they've had this fabulous weekend. And when they get home, their room is completely redone. And it's very emotional to watch the reveals, and just parents are crying, kids are crying. It's a special project.
Well, Taylor has your website up on our screen, and there it is. Yeah. And so this is your website, of course, and then it has places for you to donate. And this is your privately funded grants, but you said you get some public money, but you primarily, it sounds like you're responsible for your own financing.
Yes.
And so anybody, obviously, they have the give buttons here, but you had the special one coming up, you're saying, Safe Space, My Space.
My Safe Space.
Right. That's what you're working for specifically now, right?
Right. And that's not necessarily on the site. That's just, that is a special project that we do, again, one time a year. And I think the family that's been selected this year has 3 children that will be working on.
So would you use a volunteer to help you do that, or is that people like within the agency, like your workers?
We've done both.
Okay.
The family that had 8 children, we had to actually bring in some construction people to help us. We did 36 loads of laundry.
Oh, my goodness.
We cleaned. We decorated for Christmas. We've done all kinds of things in the home. So, yes, a lot of times we do bring in community people to help us, because sometimes we need the expertise of people outside of our team to help us with those projects.
Well, every nonprofit I've dealt with, and I've been really fortunate to deal with a good number of them over the course of this show, is fundraising is 24/7, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
And
And when we say there's a lot of competition, y'all don't seem very competitive with each other, but there is a lot of need amongst all these various groups. And so I know it has to be, it kind of draining, I would imagine.
It's a full-time job. Our board of directors does an incredible job. I don't think there's any board that works as hard as our board does. And so I know how incredibly blessed we are to have the individuals that work with us year-round to help raise funds. And the support of Johnson County for our kids has been amazing. I listen to other directors from across the state, and it's just not the case everywhere. So we are very fortunate. And we do have a nonprofit community where we do work with each other. We try to support each other, get together from time to time, and find out what's new, or even just sending our new staff to go learn from the other
and it's
nonprofits.
Really, it's reassuring. It's heartwarming. That show we had, like I mentioned, about 2 weeks ago, to see the ladies all, just visiting and laughing and whatever. It's just really touching, how everybody pulls on the same wagon here. And it makes me glad I live in Johnson County. I know there's some tough spots in it, but any county would say that. But I'm glad that I live in a community that has this kind of level of support for all its nonprofits. And Gabrina, I kind of put you to the side today.
That's perfectly fine, because this right here is very important.
I know it's important to you.
Yeah, it's very important to me.
But do you have anything for us for the chamber coming up?
Just really quickly, October 11th is our network at night at Lost Oak Winery. October 27th is our economic development. It's our fall luncheon economic development update. We do have the holiday bazaar coming up November the 5th, and so we're accepting applications still if you want to be a vendor, if you're crafty. If any of your kids make crafts or anything like that you guys want to sell out there for a fundraiser, I mean, let me know and we'll work something out. And we also have, we're also accepting our applications for our business expo that's going to be Saturday, February 25th at Pathway. So it's just going to be a business expo. So we're accepting applications for that. Other than that, I mean, I know we need to get to your sponsors, but I'm just thankful that we had Tammy here to tell us about Children's Advocacy Center, and we do want to get her more involved and then more involved here in Burleson. And if anybody out there wants to be a volunteer, wants to donate, please do so. Snacks, whatever. I'm sure that they would not turn anything down. So,
you said October 11th is your next evening get together?
At Lost Oak Winery.
Well, I'll bet that's well attended.
Yeah, yes. Well, I'm really quickly, we were talking about kids. I actually spoke to the Burleson Collegiate High School a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, really?
And one of the high schoolers there, Garrett Ship, he joined the chamber. He's got 3 businesses, and he joined the chamber under his detailing business. And it's GS Professional Detailing. And so we had a huge ribbon cutting in front of the sign at Burleson Collegiate High School. He's our first high schooler to ever join the chamber. And so it was really, really exciting. And, when I spoke to them, I invited them to the network at night. And that's kind of how they got to meet other individuals. So I've invited that whole class to all of our network at nights because I told them.
Even though at the winery, huh?
Yeah, but I did tell them, I said, you guys stay away from the wine, but you can have the cheese and the grapes, But yeah, you never know because, our businesses are looking to hire people. They're looking for jobs. So it's, that's what the chamber does is we put people together.
Well, I'm looking forward to that one. I wanted to go to the one on Chicken Salad Chick, but
yeah, that was a good one.
I had a conflict that evening.
Yeah.
So on October 11th, I may have a conflict for that one as well because Next Step is having some sort of dinner, and I've been fortunate to be invited. So I'll be there, and probably my wife if she's trying to arrange a trip. She just retired. Today's her first day of retirement.
Oh, well, congratulations!
Oh boy, it's I made it. That's how I look at it. It's all about me, right? Anyway, so I like to thank sponsors real quick, and then we'll let you have the last word. You tell us everything you want us to know, and just as much time as you need. Thank you, Daniel. Cross at Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. I hope you're doing well. Go for the workout there. They got trainers. They have supervision. They have programs. So they got the whole thing. CrossFit Burleson 317. Also, we have Shandy Stockstill. I mentioned her earlier about the Re-Inspire group she's part of. And that's very close to her heart. She'll be on Thursday. We're going to talk about real estate. She does a lot of real estate in this county. And the market's going haywire, so she's going to come try to explain it to us. So I look forward to Thursday's show with you, Shandy, and I hope things are well. I also thank you to our friends over at Our Place Auto, which reminds me, I'm going to do self-promotion. We do an election time. Auto gives away 2 gift cards for people who post on my page an I voted sticker, or, that they voted. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't care how you voted. In fact, what I know of Otto, our votes may cancel each other out. So it doesn't matter. I get this, you're just trying to, no, I don't care who you vote for. I really don't. Just show me an I voted card. Just vote. And the early elections started on October 24th. And so we'll probably have the drawing about a week after the election so we can get everybody in. So look forward to that. Also, thank you to Wild Cigar and Culture with Chris over there. Tam, do you smoke cigars? Always ask me as a guest that, and I go, well, no, but anyway, somebody might, and it's a great place to get a cigar, get a drink, get a little relaxation time. They have a place to do business in. It's a good, quiet place, well run, well lit, well ventilated, so it's a good place to go. Also, thank you to I mentioned Tiffany and her Harvest Moon Lantern Festival this Saturday. Yeah, there it is. All right, from 4 to 9 over at the Standard. She'll be running that. She does really good stuff. Tiffany does really good stuff, but she also is going to be on the show a week from today to talk about her latest issue, which comes out this week. It's got all these great ads in it. I advertise in it, and I get response. And even though probably other businesses would be more set up to get responses, retail in particular, I still get response. So it does reach people. So thank you, Tiffany, over at Local Life. Thank you to Southern Gym. This is where my wife is going to work. She's going. I don't know how many hours she's going to work. Part time, whatnot. But she's been working there for a little while. You ever been to Southern Gym? Well, Adam needs to take you up there. It's on the top floor of the Windmiller Building, and it's very nice. They do repairs, do cleanings, they do inventory, the whole thing with jewelry. She's a jeweler, not a jewelry shop, so she could really help you out. She needs to be on the chamber, right?
She is.
She is. That's what I
Yeah.
figured.
Yeah, she is.
Good
Yeah.
for you. All right. Hot Works, and she's another one on the chamber. Michelle Humphrey over in 731. It's the infrared workouts with, there's 11 different workouts. I went by there Thursday and, take a look at it. It's a safe, secure environment. You have to be let in or have the code or whatever else, so you don't have to worry about, bums stumbling in. Yeah. But anyway, the point is it's a good place to go work out and has all these different infrared workouts. And I'm really impressed with Michelle and Gayla too, for that matter, for how entrepreneurial they are, and it really, and also how they chose Burleson to do their business in. And also my agent, Texas Farm Bureau agent, Melissa Harmon, just back from Waco after a week. I hope she had a great time. 682-804-0534. She'll help you save some money. She helped me save some money on my home insurance and auto insurance. And we're working on the life insurance. So there you are. And lastly, Danette. We had her on last Thursday. Danette Juster at Pinnacle Concepts. Taylor, did y'all meet the other day?
Yes, we did.
You make some ideas and plans?
Yeah.
She's going to remodel the studio.
Oh, nice.
Yes, yeah. So I know it looks like, a piece of heaven here, but Taylor, he likes changing things up every now and then. He gets bored. And so did y'all have a time frame on that?
Classified.
Okay, which means no. Right. But if you're looking to redesign your studio or house or business, 303-324-9906. Okay, Tammy, you tell us everything you'd like for us to know about the center.
Well, I just want to say thank you first and foremost for allowing me to come in and share.
It's our pleasure. It really is. It's the purpose of the show.
And I would just say if there's anything that we touched on today and you have an issue, a concern, a question, please visit our website at cacjctx.org. Feel free to call the center if you just need to have a voice at the other end of the phone. I promise you're not going to get sent to a voicemail. We have staff that answer the phone all day long while we're there. So if you have a question, please feel free to call us. And again, just thank you for allowing us to be on here.
Oh, it's quite all right. I really have, this is what has developed over the last 2-3 years on the show, and I feel honored to be included in this, and even in a small way, because it makes it all worthwhile. And I know my sponsors love it, because they're the same like mind. They want to support this community. They want to support these nonprofits, and it makes them feel good. And that's a good thing to have. Thank you for what you do. I know it's got to be tough some days. We appreciate what you do and what your whole staff does, what you do for this county, and particularly what you do for these children.
Right.
You're doing God's work, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Gabrina, we'll see you in about a month.
Sounds good. And if that's part of being a member of the chamber, one of the benefits is getting to come on the show here with us and talk about your business. So if you're interested in doing that, let me know, and I'll bring you on with me.
Maybe you can bring that kid.
Yeah.
Well, that wing they're building, that's where they're going to be moving Hill College. So I'll be working there next semester.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to have our friend Camille on. We're going to talk about what she's doing, and then have Shandy on Thursday. So share this with your friends. The Children's Advocacy Center needs your help, and they do a lot of good work. So share it and post it and publicize it. And we'll see y'all next time.